Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 66 of The Real Estate Show. I'm Cherise, Selley, and with me, and we are finishing out the year, Bill, together on this podcast episode.
It is so good to be back again.
We love having you. In fact, I just want you to be a regular feature.
I'd be happy. Can I change my shirt next time?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you keep wearing it every time you walk back in. It's the same outfit. But the good thing is we're always in blue. We match somehow. It's really weird.
It's divine. What can I say?
I don't know what you could say. Rhonda, help me.
Oh, she won't.
So
she listened to me.
You know, Bill, we had a great discussion. I want to continue with that. But first, let me just kind of clue everybody into the November stats. Because as this podcast is airing, it's airing in December. We certainly don't have all of December's numbers because it's still rolling.
Right.
But we have something to share, which is November's. And so we're at about 525. 923. You had predicted 526. You were so close.
Who is he?
On the average price home for November and the median price at 453. Both of those numbers dropped slightly from the month before.
Yeah.
But less than what you thought, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how the year ends out. I anticipate, December's those numbers to drop some more. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I really do. I think, typically just in a regular market, typically that's a little bit slower. But I truly believe for buyers in this market, and we kind of ended that last podcast talking about that. For buyers, there's some opportunities out there.
That's right.
Again, if you can afford it and your income is stable, I don't know that there is a bad time. Prices are adjusting, so you're getting low. You're off the peak.
Right.
Who knows where rates are going to go? But they've definitely about 1.5 down from where they were.
At least as we're airing it now.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would for buyers, I would definitely look out there. I hear buyers say all the time, "I'm going to wait till it hits the bottom." Well, first of all, it's almost impossible to time, and second of all, unless you're buying cash, I don't think timing means a heck of a lot because unless you're when you're borrowing money, we talked about in the last podcast, from December up until several weeks ago, the home you could buy went from $500,000 to $320 just
crazy.
because of what interest rates did.
Right.
So for people that are borrowing money, interest rates are everything.
And don't you think, what I keep hearing you say is if you can afford it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really more about that than because you're right. Hindsight is perfect for everybody. I wish we all had more of it.
Absolutely.
But we can't predict everything by looking backwards because we're never going to go forwards.
Well, no one thought the market would change as fast as it did.
Right.
We all were saying, prices are so high that it's unsustainable. But no one would have saw the change that happened March, April to where we are now.
Huge turn.
It was just a big, we went from 500 to 2,500 listings in 5 months.
Right.
Okay,
say that again.
We went from 500 listings up to 2,500 listings in 5 months.
Okay.
That was the biggest jump I've seen back to 2003.
So those are the kind of things, it's this knee jerk, it's highs and lows and highs. And I have never experienced in 26 years of doing this, that type of reaction either.
It was a massive jump
in this market, as far as just the highs and lows. I could not chronicle this year. I could not make up the stories.
Yeah.
There are to be made up about what has happened this year.
No one would believe you.
No.
Yeah,
they wouldn't.
Yeah.
You go from one client making $600,000 over list price to one client going, "You're giving me a price estimate that I think is $600,000 too low," because it's like, well, we can't price things on escalations anymore.
We closed a deal earlier in the year. The people had not made payments for 2 years, and they actually took money from the closing.
No,
I swear.
Wow.
But again, remember I told you those last 2 years, things went up 15.7%.
So should we teach everybody how to stay in their home and not pay? Is that what the point of this podcast?
That's not.
Bill, I'm in real trouble right now.
Well, let me tell you this. If you bought your house in March and you're having to sell right now, you're bringing some money to the table.
And that's the first time that conversation.
How long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of years.
Really, we started this run back in 11.
Yeah.
So, for 10 years.
I remember, when the market crashed, the last time I would have 20 to 30 sellers that I would meet in about 6 or 8 months time frame. And the conversation was, this is how much money you have to bring to the table.
Yep.
So there were so many people that became forced investors then, because my job then was to be I wasn't the salesperson. I was the counselor, and I still am.
Right.
And those people that listened and kept their home, Don't you know they're so happy now?
Absolutely.
Because those people, a lot of them closed during this market high time,
right.
when their home price more than doubled,
right.
and they thought they could never get out of it.
Absolutely.
So we're in that same spot again where people are going, is the sky going to fall? Is my life going to end? Or can I ever sell my home again?
Right.
The point is, if you do things in a knee-jerk fashion, nothing is going to work out.
Yeah.
And you said it, the average home appreciation year over year since what, the 70s?
You go back to any
3%?
20-year run, it's 3%.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it is. So it's
hold. It's not, it's time to have a different mentality with that stuff. But it's not that the market is, you can still make really good decisions in this market.
Oh, and the weird thing about this market is if you bought any time other than the first 3 or 4 months of this year, if you bought 2 years ago, you're still fine. I mean, you're absolutely fine.
True.
And so it's like the only people that are really, if you bought like in the first quarter or so, is where you're really upside down.
Yeah.
So, and you know what's, when I love when people say, I'm going to time the market. I would ask those same people, how many of you were buying homes in 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13?
Right.
Okay. Because if you really wanted to make some serious money, you would have bought those homes during that time. And I would challenge almost everyone that tells me they're going to time the market. I would ask you how many homes you bought during that time.
Well, you bought them all.
I did buy some.
So, see, there you go. That's why you're retiring, right?
Well, no one wants me to work anymore. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
well, you
certain
said
lawsuits.
You said that you can't replace you though, so that's tough.
Very true.
I don't know.
Per pound, that's impossible.
Well, Bill,
not in Stay Human.
So other things have happened in lending besides the interest rates dropping here fairly recently. Conforming loan limits have changed, so that's pretty good news too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it went from 647,200 to 726. Okay. And in high cost areas, so places like Washington, D.C., New York City, parts of Colorado, et cetera, then the conforming limits are now slightly over $1 million.
Yep.
So what do you think that's going to stimulate anything? Is that a good news? Because lenders are sending me these advertisements about
it's a good
this.
news, bad news thing. When you're comparing like our cost of homes and you're comparing us now to San Diego and San Francisco and that, it's great news if you're selling.
Right.
If you're buying, it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
And so I never, this year, it was earlier this year, we were in the top 10 as far as most expensive when you take wages and home prices and utilities and everything. We were in the top 10 of all cities. And I mean, when you think about it, that's amazing because that's comparing us to San Francisco and San Diego and New York. I mean, and so that's interesting. And that's why I would like to see, and I know everybody's going to hate me on this, but prices continue to moderate here for a bit to open that market up a little bit for some affordability.
Haters are going to hate.
Oh, there you are. But buyers got kicked. They just got smacked around. I feel sorry for them.
I do too.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and especially the ones that, went on the escalation clauses and the appraisal, I saw this didn't happen down here much, but in Denver, they weren't even doing inspections.
Right. Well, actually here too.
Did you
I was seeing a lot of contracts without that. A lot of people waived. They did. Yeah. And that's actually a national survey. I think there's the buyer's remorse through COVID.
Right.
It's been the biggest remorse of history.
I totally believe it.
So that's really hard. Yeah. That was a hard time to navigate. This is a new hard time to navigate. It's a different time. So Bill, let's talk a little bit about forecasting for 2023 related to housing. We don't have the end of the year prediction or the numbers yet for how 2022 is going to finish. But first of all, where do you predict 2022 to finish, and how do you predict 2023 to go?
I think 2022 in the end will be 10% or below as far as for average and median prices, compared to the previous year of 18.6.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see that. I think through 22, I don't think inflation is going to be under control that fast. So I look for a little bit of a drag through 23. I look for prices to continue to moderate down. I think you could see 30-year mortgages hover in that 6-ish, 5-ish, which is going to be okay, but you still need a decent income to buy a $500,000 house in that. So I think we'll continue to moderate or soften a little bit through 23. I think listings will climb up more from where they are right now. I think with the inventory levels, which is that formula that says how long would it take us to burn through all the inventory. I think those are going to continue to increase, but I don't think it'll increase past to where it actually becomes a buyer's market, not in the next year.
No.
I still think it's a seller's market, nothing like it was, but still anything above that 4 months, in inventory, if we go above 4 or 5, then it starts to switch to a buyer's market. On my calculations, when I ran them, we're only at about 2.8 months of inventory. So we still got a ways to go before we would flip. Before the last Great Recession, we had 9 months of inventory. So back then, it would have taken us 9 months to burn through everything.
Home price.
To burn through everything. And right now, we would burn through it in about 2.5.
Okay.
So I still think it's going to maintain the sellers, not near as much. People are going to ask for seller concessions. They're going to beat you down on price. It's not going to be that market that the sellers just ruled.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be a market that sellers will have. The buyers will have some more opportunity. So I see a continuing softening all the way through 2023.
In a way, there's some balance coming.
We need it.
A little bit.
Yep.
So, Bill, let's we have just a few minutes left, but I would love to just ask you a few other things. And I think it's so interesting to talk about a few practical things that you and I have seen recently in our war stories of real estate. Okay.
Gotcha.
So I want to segue into one thing about, deeds of trust.
Okay.
Because you're getting a lot of questions about owner carries and different financing terms. And one question that I want to bring to you and ask you is, who should prepare a deed of trust?
Okay. On single family residential. Okay. And how much time do I got?
Well, we have a few minutes,
okay.
But, burn through it. This is our last podcast of the year.
On single-family residential,
okay.
When Dodd-Frank was passed after the Great Recession, and then we had TRID, which is TILA interest disclosures.
Right.
When that regulation came in, it was never really defined as a seller carryback on single-family residential, a subprime loan. It was never really, or qualified mortgage is what they were calling it. And it's never been clarified. So if it is characterized as that, here's the danger. If you don't do that deed of trust and note correctly, and I mean like verify employment, run credit checks, place the insurance, if you don't do all that exactly like a loan should be done, if the buyer does not make the payments, you may not be able to foreclose on them.
Oh, wow.
And so even as a title company, because of that, we don't want to be responsible for not doing it all correctly. The buyer doesn't make the payments on that seller carryback, and then the buyer finds a good attorney, and that attorney says, wait, that falls under the qualified mortgage rule. You can't foreclose.
Oh, wow.
So that's why it's dangerous. So if I was a real estate agent, no way. Even the title companies don't do it. I'll do it on vacant land and I'll do it on commercial, but I will not prepare those documents on single family residential because of Dodd-Frank and TRID, because we don't have clarification whether or not those fall under the qualified mortgage rule, period.
So stay in your lane, right?
It's absolutely. If you're the buyer, if I'm the buyer in those cases, they can do it in crayon and let their kids do it, because if they do it wrong and I don't make my payments, I'll go hire that lawyer to come and say, I don't have to make my payments.
Oh my gosh.
But if you're representing the seller, you want to make dang sure it's done right.
No, I agree with that.
Yep. And agents that do it are going to get in trouble. They should not do that at all.
I agree.
Yep.
I mean, there's some things, because the lines are kind of blurred, things are happening a little bit differently in the world of financing or owner carries. We just have to make sure that the professionalism stays in this industry and good things happen and people are doing what they should do in their lane, because sometimes a very innocent person will say, prepare this for me.
Right.
But I'm not an attorney.
Right.
I'm not going to go prepare it, and I'm not a lender.
Right.
So that's not in my lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I totally agree. And we're going to see things we haven't seen in a while. Assumptions.
Yeah.
Qualifying assumptions. I have a separate company called Assumption Solutions.
Okay.
That we're actually facilitating. Like example, a veteran that has a 2.5% loan.
Right.
If you're in the market today, it's 5%. So your payment's going to be half of what they would be. So a veteran can come in and assume that other veteran's loan.
Yeah.
We can even do it where the eligibility is released. And so you have a veteran in today's market that couldn't buy a home at 5%, but he can take over that one at 2.5%.
So is that part of the company very busy right now?
It is. We just started this a couple months ago, and we've got 6 or 8 in there right now, and that's not counting the ones that we're just closing that don't run through that.
That's incredible.
So I've probably seen 8 or 10 close so far.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's creative things happening and good things
Absolutely.
happening.
Yep. No, absolutely.
What about short sales? Do you see that
We're
increasing?
seeing a couple. I'm not seeing that increase. And the reason I'm not seeing an increase like we did back in 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, because home prices have gone up so much.
Right.
Again, people can actually lose their job. And if you bought 2 or 3 years ago, you could lose your job, still not pay payments for 6 or 8 months, still sell the house and get equity out of it.
Wow. This is not a recommended business practice.
No, it's not. But that's why I'm thinking I don't think we're going to see it like we did in 08, 9, and 10. Now, we just got one and we just got another one in. But you know what? Back in 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, I had 5 full-time employees in short sales solutions.
I remember that.
5. We had 200 going at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I got 1 right now.
Wow.
So
good to know.
Yeah, and there's going to be some, but the other reason is too, because back then we had a lot of the 80-20s and the 9-10-10s where people were buying and not putting any money into the house. They were just borrowing the 100% of the value. There's not very many of those right now. And then the other side of that is rent is so high that if I'm staying in my house and I got a rate of 3 or 4%, it's likely my house payments are less than it would be if I had to go out and rent a place.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to see people bail like they did back then.
I don't either.
No, I just don't see it.
And I think that inventory is going to continue, even though there's more inventory, Bill, we're not going to become oversupplied. So going back to like a 2023 prediction, I think we will have more inventory even than we do now.
Yeah, I do too.
But I don't think it's going to get up into like stratospheric numbers.
Yeah, you know what? I'm very confident that Space Command is going to stay here.
Yeah.
Space Force was never in jeopardy. We just got cybersecurity. We have so many things that are coming to Colorado. It's people are still coming here. Tatiana Bailey said in a seminar just a month ago that we're probably 11,000 homes short of the demand that's there right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's hopeful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did I say something hopeful?
That's good news for the new year, Bill.
I didn't mean to say anything.
I know.
Good.
How come? I thought you were supposed to be Scrooge walking in here. So is there any other any other closing thoughts that you have?
I think, again, one of the things I would say for the buyers who have just been beat up over the last 5 years, there is going to be some opportunity coming into this year. Get with a good real estate agent, get with a good lender, know the process. The cool thing is you're not going to have to buy right when you walk through the house.
Right.
You're going to have more than 15 minutes to actually look at it. And so, the buyers can take a little bit of time. Your sellers will pay concessions. It's unlikely you're going to see appraisal escalations so I think it's going to be opportunities for the buyers.
Yep.
Having said that, it's still, for a seller, it's still going to be an okay market. It's just not all it was.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. It's like hogs went up 50 cents a pound and I lost $2 million because I didn't have one. Dad used to say that.
Okay, Bill. Well, thank you for all of the wisdom. And honestly, it's so fun to have you on the show.
I have a kick.
I really appreciate it. And I just want everybody that's listening, we appreciate you. We wish you a wonderful Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, happy New Year. We are so grateful for our real estate tribe, for the community of Colorado Springs, for Empire Title. You have done such a great job, Bill.
Thank you. I've been very blessed. Way more than I deserve.
I can tell you just with the closing that we had today, Bill, where you were a very vital part of helping that to come together in an ethical and right way.
I appreciate it.
That it makes a difference on what title company. It makes a difference, obviously, on the agents. But when things are done correctly, it's amazing how we can get through hard things together and do it well.
And you know what, Cherise, I think a big deal with in your industry and my industry, 90% of the people can close 90% of the deals. It's that other 10% of those deals that are the real challenges that very few people can close.
That's right.
And I think that's what's important when you're shopping around. Take a look at the people that are in the peak producers, those people that are producing. Look for those types of people because, again, a lot of people can handle if it goes great.
Yeah.
But if it gets a little crazy, that's where you want good people in your corner.
That's right. Well, thank you so much.
You bet.
We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.